Hey everybody, Josh Siertzen of World Alternative Media here, and since Hugo Chavez took power in 1999 in Venezuela, once a country considered rich, which people flocked to in great numbers, 2 million people have fled the country due to poverty, lack of opportunity, and now, of course, crippling hyperinflation. But there's a catch, as there usually is in heavily centralized socialist countries. Most are unable to leave. There have been an estimated 1.8 million to 3 million passport requests to the government in the past year. Out of this figure, only 300,000 have been granted the right to do so. On a daily basis, hundreds of people line up outside passport offices to gain such a right, according to Sonia Schott, a former Washington, D.C. correspondent for the Venezuelan news network Globovision. Horrifying, considering it should be inherent as a natural right of freedom of movement. Now, corrupt Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro opened up an option to the public recently to rush passports in 72 hours for double the price of waiting in line, but the website has been repeatedly crashing. And it appears few passports have actually been granted through this avenue. Not to mention that due to the historic and alarming hyperinflation leading people to drink out of gutters, break into zoos to eat the animals, wait in bread lines, and get numbered tattoos for food portions, it's not practical to pay even more for a passport. You can only weigh so many stacks of so-called money, and people need to eat. Even if they can only eat tiny scraps of food after waiting hours, if not more than a day in line for such an honor. Not only are people unable to afford food, but the government is unable to afford the paper to print the passports on. But there may be more to this story. Many believe that it's more than just the government not being able to afford the paper, but that the government is actually attempting to stop people from leaving. More than ever, people are attempting to flee Venezuela, the former socialist utopia, and for good reason. Government manipulation, centralization, and monopolization have left bureaucrats living in palaces while the children sip dirty water out of the gutters. According to Cynthia Arnson, the director of the Latin American program at the Woodrow Wilson Center, and I quote, "People with the means to get out want to, but the problem is you need a passport and you can't get it. It's kind of an excuse by the Venezuelan government that they don't have materials because they know the real reason people want passports is to leave the country." This is what socialism eventually leads to. How many times does history have to repeat itself before people realize the dangers of massive governments controlling every little aspect of life until monopolies become enormous and fiat currency crashes into the ground, leaving the populace in chains of debt and servitude? Socialist empires historically either turn into giant communist dictatorships, or they fall at the hand of the individual and rebuild themselves as voluntary, free market individualist societies free from the iron fist of communism. But of course, people need to be educated before the latter is possible. People just need to be propagandized with glossy ideals, free of logic, but completely based in emotion to fall for the former. Next, in my opinion, I expect bread and circuses as Venezuela burns. Distraction mechanisms to keep people cheering as Rome burns. Nero would be proud. Thanks for watching, everyone. You could check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially in these times as we're getting heavily censored. You can also check our Bitcoin address below and on the screen. You can scan the code. And we'll be back at you with much more at World Alternative Media. As always, this is Josh Siertzen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth. Be the change.
Wow.